Welcome to Shugga Mama Radio. You are now tuned in with your girl Shamika Chantel.
And it's your girl Tina Marie.
And we got special guests in the building, Stokey. Don't act all shy. You want to act all shy?
I didn't know if you want me to give you a formal introduction. I know.
Yeah, we need a formal introduction.
I feel, blessed. I'm sitting between two beautiful young ladies who took time out their schedule to invite somebody that's nobody like me on the station, so I'm blessed.
I wouldn't say all that.
But I'll take it.
What you gonna take, the special young lady or I'm nobody?
That you're nobody.
All right. She'll take it, so.
No, I said I'll take the part that you said by between two beautiful women.
Oh, okay.
I'll take a compliment whenever I can get one.
So, Stokey, author, director, community activist, marketing executive. What else are you going to add to your resume?
A dad.
Dad?
A friend.
Okay.
I don't know, whatever title you want to give me that's deserved, I'm going to take it.
Well, a little birdie been flying around with mayor.
That's an option.
Okay.
I only want to do what's right for the people. I'm not a politician, so I don't want to sound like I'm superficial, but I think there's a lot of wants and needs in our city that need to be addressed, and I think some people who can deal with the crisis is real people. Who know how it works and who has the ambition to fix it. And I love my city, I love the people so much. It's an option that came across to me a while ago, talking to a few close friends of mine, and I thought maybe that's something that I can entertain, especially if if everything fall the way it's supposed to. I wouldn't mind giving it a shot, but it's a long shot right now. I'm contemplating it. I talk to my family, I talk to a few close friends, and everybody's positive about the move, but it's a lot of responsibilities that's involved, and I'm not really sure if I'm ready to sacrifice everything that it takes, but I wanted to make sure that whoever becomes the next mayor is going to do right by the people.
Right.
That's awesome. So was there a recent event that inspired you or made you consider even possibly running for a political position?
Well, it wasn't quite an event. It was a situation that, for the longest time, post Freddie Gray, I've been doing my best to try to find ways to connect with people, create hope and inspiration, especially in West Baltimore where the Freddie Gray situation happened at. And one day I was watching TV, or I was watching the news, and I don't really had time to watch the news that much, but I seen the situation with the officer spit on the guy.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the straw that broke this camel's back, because I felt like all the meetings, all the town halls, all the marching, they still disrespecting us, and somebody got to stand up for everybody, especially if you want reform and policy change along with certain procedures, because to me that was, that was a premeditated act,
Right.
I think he deliberately did that without, any fault. How people say, well, he shot somebody by mistake, the gun went off. Well, that was premeditated, and I feel like when you spit on a man, especially after all we've been through,
right.
That's the type of atrocities that divide the community with the police department. And although they have been working, tirelessly to increase the relationship, I think they got a long way to go, especially when you see stuff like that.
Right. Now, you mentioned that you are a dad, and I know that you've been doing a lot of work in the community as far as since the Freddie Gray, well, actually before the Freddie Gray incident, and you were just talking about the incident where the police, the young guy spit on the police, or police spit on the young guy. There was just a video that went viral with a police officer rough handling a young lady in school. Now, as a dad, as a parent, what would have been your reaction?
The old me or the new me?
The new you.
The new you.
The new me would have pretty much followed, I guess, the policies and procedures and protocol. Asked that he be reprimanded, by his department, and find ways to, I guess if they want to, because I'm not really a criminal charge filer. Because I'm not really that type of person. But if that was my daughter, I probably would have wanted him dealt with immediately, fired or removed from the force, because that could be anybody's child, and everybody is not going to deal with the same. And I think that could traumatize that young lady for the rest of her life. And especially if you inside an institution of learning, you don't never want to be disciplined to a point where somebody physically try to bring you home. That's not why they go to school. Regardless of the situation, I felt like he should have been properly trained to deal with any situation that he ran across. the way he dealt with that was not only, you know, unprofessional, it was unethical, you know.
Right.
I mean, as a father, you don't want to see nobody put their hands on your child. So, I mean, I give a lot of credit, you know, and respect to her dad and her mom for the way they handled it, because everybody would have did it.
Yeah, I definitely.
That was hard to watch. Now, just recently we heard that at that same school there was a march out. So a lot of the teens that attended the school marched out and refused to return, and this officer was returned, given his job back, which I thought, to me, posed a bigger problem than the whole incident, because I feel like, and you work with the youth, that today the youth doesn't really understand what we're actually going through. I work with youth as well, and a lot of them are teenagers, and we talk about a lot of issues that we see on TV as far as racial incidents and just the way that the world is now. And I'm surprised by some of their opinions. They don't see it as bad. They don't really understand the level of disrespect. They don't understand that, we're being treated a certain way. And to me, that poses a bigger problem, because anytime your peers, these young girls' peers, are okay with this and want him back in, what do you think? How would you address that? If you were to take a political office, how would you address that, or how would you discuss that with the kids that you work with?
Well, on one thing, we got to be honest about the racial divide. You know, a lot of information that's prevalent in the school system, whether it be in the home or in the community, it probably comes from a person of authority or even a parent or guardians, and I got it. But I feel as though if that's their right to protest peacefully, or they in disagreement with what happened, the fallout, I mean, I can respect that. Some people might not accept it because they felt like it was obvious what he did to the young lady, and there was a crime being committed, because when you physically, assault a young lady that's not resisting, I think that's problematic in general. But if I was, I don't like to be political, because sometimes indirectly practice hypocrisy, because you say one thing and you really mean another.
Right.
And I understand that's a very sensitive issue, but what I would do, I would ask any young adult or teenager or adolescent to always voice their opinion and fight for what they believe in. If you stand for something, they say, that means you won't fall for anything. Right. And I think what happened in our situation dealing with Freddie Gray, honestly, the kids need to be committed, because they're the ones that started this movement. Right. It was a moment that turned into a movement, and if it wasn't for the kids, probably wouldn't be having this conversation. They was fatigued and they was frustrated by the way they've been dealt with for years, and the situation, I think, was isolated in South Carolina, where the young lady was assaulted by the police officer. You might have people who feel like the police, was someone they could run to protect them. Then you got those who felt opposite of that. So, it depends on the situation. I just would ask anybody to get involved in the process, whether it be political or not, especially if you want to see change, because what they're doing, they're voicing their opinion, I guess in a peaceful manner, and you got to respect that, because everybody not going to agree with you, especially if it's something that's dealing with a sensitive issue like that. And when race get involved, everybody always want to cry victim and say, well, he should have did this, he should have did that. That could have been a white child. It wouldn't have mattered to me.
Right.
Now, what would you advise the teachers that are in the school systems? Because right now, there are a lot of people saying they wouldn't want to be teachers right now, and there are a lot of parents that don't want to send their kids to school. What would be your advice as a community activist and being someone that's a leader in these kids' eyes? What would be your advice to the teachers?
First of all, teachers' job is to teach kids, regardless of where they come from. I think one of the important elements of that whole entire situation or environment before it become a negative situation is relationships. A lot of teachers nowadays don't have the kind of relationship that they want with the child, because there's certain rules and regulations that brought them from getting so involved. Back in the day where teachers used a ruler, now it's an assault. So a lot of them have these fears and these phobias about doing certain things that involve a child, whether he has disciplinary actions, mental health issues, and so forth. But I just advise the teachers not to give up on the kids, because they are the future, and whatever is going on in the house, sometimes that energy transfer into the classroom, and the teachers can tell, because they spend the most time with the kids. And regardless of the situation, I think if the teachers, remain patient with the process and get outside help, whether it be from the community or from someone in the family, I think it can be dealt with. But the problem is when they get fatigued and frustrated and they throw in the towel, they only send the child back out into the community in which he came in. You know, I know it's not that fault or that responsibility to raise someone's child, but when I was in school a few years ago, I mean, it was different. We had teachers that would reprimand you. I mean, light years, but teachers would reprimand you, and you had some people that would consider themselves a teacher's pet and so forth. But it was like a second home. You was talking to a parent or a guardian, regardless of race, or religion. They were someone you can talk to. Now, what I see in the hallways of some of the schools is a lot of disrespect, and you always try to figure out how can you end something that has been so problematic for a long time. I mean, they lowered the level of learning, and we can't really prepare our kids to go into the future the way they are now because they're not going to succeed. I mean, for most people, I think, when we think about education, we think about 12 years of grade school, and now they got, I think, charter schools that, pretty much try their best to make sure these kids are prepared. But then when you're dealing with a kid that got not only academic problems, but behavioral problems, it becomes real difficult for a teacher to really focus, and it becomes disruptive for not only her, but the entire classroom and that environment. Then it's perpetuated throughout the school system because everybody pretty much follows suit. So I just encourage the teachers to do the best they can do, and they got all type of resources, I think, that can be aligned with the teachers to pretty much like keep the kid on track. It's just that we got to build these infrastructures and give people an opportunity to know where they at and inform them on how to deal with those situations before they come. I've always been about prevention. A lot of people like intervention. To me, that's too late.
Right.
So I believe in prevention. I think once we can tackle this together like it used to be, I think a lot of those problems will be resolved.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of providing a place where those kids can have resources, I saw on your website that you have a project that you're working on. It's called the Bridge Center.
Yeah, it's really a family resource center. A good friend of mine, and his wife, Jane and Jill Picnic, they had advised me after 30th grade that when we go to the table with these politicians or these elected or selected officials, have some solutions, And for a long time, everybody was focused on recreation. I felt like, there's a large population of young folk that have mental health issues that's not being addressed. You have an educational problem, you have jobs that are not available to these kids. And then, these kids don't have nowhere to go to problem solve or troubleshoot or even redirect their frustration or anger. And then when they're in their own communities, you have law enforcement officials who, I guess, say that they are doing illegal activities, don't want to see them. Well, I don't know where else they're going to go. So then I say, well, if we create a system or a program that can deal with the entire family, where you have a social service outlet inside there, a community police department, recreation, education, mental health, I think it'll address a lot of problems that the kids face immediately. In short term, you might not want to say that it is a safety valve for what we deal with internally, but I think in the community, it'll solve a lot of issues because therefore you can pretty much tell these kids, okay, I don't want to see you here because you can go there. But when you tell them you don't want to see them, but there's nowhere to go, then it's almost like, you're wasting your time.
Right. So I think it's a wonderful thing that you have that you're working on. How far, where are you in the process?
Well, I've been having meetings, and that's another thing about politics. I believe in God, so I think what's for you is for you, and what's not is not. And I have had meetings with probably everybody you can think of in the Baltimore metropolitan area about trying to create an atmosphere for not only kids but adults, but it's going through a difficult time, and sometimes it falls on deaf ears. So I've always been optimistic. So I always say, well, you got to go in a different direction. If you want to get a different result, you can't keep going down the same street thinking you're going to see a different house. So, what I mean is that I talk to certain elected officials who promise to do this and promise to do that, and I know how that game goes. And that's the difference between myself and a lot of other people, because they say things just to get you out their face.
Right.
And that's ineffective nowadays because these kids, and a lot of other people who are in need can see that.
Right.
And that's why they don't get involved in the political process, because they feel like all they're going to do is be lied to, and deceived, and that's not what I want to be, and that's not who I want to represent our city. If I could, support that person, him or her, or even myself, I want to make sure that they be held accountable, So win, lose, or draw, I think the center will be built. How or when, I'm not quite sure because I don't want to lie, but I'm planning it soon.
So how, for those that are listening or people that support your project and your movement, how could we help support? Like, could we help you get the word out? Could we make a donation? Or?
I mean, you can do a little bit of both. I mean, honestly, right now, a lot of elected officials who don't have any type of solution on how to curb crime or help education or recreation, if you ask them to look at the syllabus, you know, and the program itself, I think they will all agree, you know, and just talk to your local congressman, your local city councilman, and let them know that's an idea that's subject to be addressed if in fact everybody's on board. I mean, again, it's not about bipartisanship, it's not about trying to overspend or overpromise or undeliver. It's a solution that I think will deal with the majority of issues that we all deal with today. And we all know that we're in crisis mode. So right now we got a lot of people that's, you know, committing crime. The recidivist rate, you know, it has increased, you know, because people come home from prison with nowhere to go, nothing to do. So we find situations like the Family Resource Center, and we align ourselves with other organizations, you know, whether it be a department in the mayor's office or whomever, the governor. I mean, and they got all these other resources. They can, you know, take all the money and allocate it in the harbor, but in the city we suffer.
Right.
So I mean, that's an issue in itself, because if you think about Federal Hill, you think about Cannady, you know, those places came out. I mean, they've been around for a while, but look at the difference. You know, even when doing a riot, you know, and I mean, I'm gonna give you a scenario. In boxing, they always say protect your face, right? So when the riot went on, Mondawmin, Pennsylvania was wide open, but in the harbor had bodies around, like, you know, Obama was down there. And I understand it, because I don't want, you know, I don't condone no form of violence or destruction, but I'm saying, you know, it's like we always be the one left out. You know, we always got to be the one that got startled. We always got to be the one to suffer, you know. And right now, that's why I encourage everybody to deeply think about the voter process. Or if you're not registered, get registered to vote so your voice can be heard.
Absolutely. And we will have a link up already on fire.com where you can, to give you a link so where you can go and register to vote. I believe you, Diamond.
Yeah.
Will they be able to get direct links to register?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so make sure you guys get out and register to vote. Besides the Bridge Center, and you also will have the Stokey Project. So what can you tell the people, what exactly is the Stokey Project?
The Stokey Project is a full-service entertainment company, consultant management company, and I mean, I try to be as versatile as I possibly can be, because I like giving people opportunities. You know, a friend of mine, Russell Soul, Raul Smith, he was my partner, and we came up with the Stokey Project because we wanted to have a brand, and we wanted, when people see or hear about what we're doing, they know what's behind it. You know, and I felt like, you know, image is everything, and if you have a reputation, good or bad, people gonna recognize you by your name. You know, think about it. When somebody say your name, first thing you think about is the person's character. So we said the Stokey Project, being that we was doing a lot of philanthropy work and giving back to the community, and then I love film, and that was another project that was incorporated into just, you know, the scheme of things. So I just said, well, we're gonna move forward and start managing people, whether it be musicians, you know, actors, athletes. You know, I had a real broad scope, you know, for my company, and I think we made a lot of progress so far locally, and I'm very interested to see what happens in the years to come, because I mean, it's been successful thus far, and I mean, with support of people like you guys, you know.
And you cover everything from film to, like you said, management to what else?
Publishing.
To publish the book publishing. Then you have the talent director.
Yeah, I mean, it's symbolic to a lot of other major corporations or companies that, you know, we mimic. I just think locally, I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to succeed, and I know how it feels not to have support. You know, and I wanted to be able to, you know, connect certain dots, or even be a liaison between some of the things that I had going on and other companies in and outside of Baltimore. Like right now, we're in the process of doing a film called Man Up, which I'm very excited about. You know, my friend Chino and my son Bobby Escola, he's in there. I got April Diva Style, she's in there. Directed by David Madigo, Super Dave. It's, you know, it's very exciting when you can do stuff in your own home and not have to feel like you're doing something wrong.
Right.
You know, I remember before I had a conversation, I was headed to LA to move, and it's not that often that I have an opportunity to speak to somebody like Jay-Z in an intimate setting, you know, because he's so busy, or we always at an event. And one day I was explaining to him that I wanted to move to LA, and he said something that really reminded me of how impactful your city can be and how supportive they have been to me. He said, well, why are you going to LA? LA don't need you. He said, Baltimore needs you. So once you stay home and build up Baltimore instead of build up LA, you know, you can do movies in Baltimore. They might not be on the grandest stages LA, but you got to start from somewhere.
And I definitely would agree, because during the riots, if there was no Stokey, I really do not know who would have stepped up. You know how you see a certain situation and you say if that person wasn't there, okay, then it probably would have been this person that stepped up. I don't have anyone in my mind that would have took on the role that you took on during that time in Baltimore. So I'm definitely glad he told you that and you decided to stay and didn't go anywhere.
It's funny because I mean, you know, a young friend of mine named Tony, he was mad at me because he had texted me about the Freddie Gray incident, and I get texts all the time, and I deeply apologize for not really reading the text and the content, because he was telling me that something happened to my friend Freddie or whatever. And at the time, I'm thinking there's another incident with the police, you know, whatever. So I went to Eastern Shore to a Daddy's Daughter event with my friend Henry Jones, and on my way back, I heard the radio, Freddie Gray passed away, and everybody was marching and protesting in front of the police station. So now I see all the news I happen to just go up there, and then I hear everybody saying, well, you know, we're going to march downtown to City Hall, and I said, okay. So that Saturday, you know, I wanted to be a part of the process, you know, peacefully march downtown to City Hall and let the voices be heard. Well, they didn't make it that far because they start, you know, rioting a little bit or just destroying some of the stores and the windows on Pratt Street. Then I got word that they were going to do, you know, something else on that Monday right after the Freddie Gray funeral. And they gave the daughter their word that there wouldn't be any type of problems, you know, during the funeral. Well, I was outside the funeral, and I said, well, let me go downtown and get something to eat, because, you know, the casino, you can eat and you can watch TV, do whatever. So I'm happy to be down there, and I'm watching the screen. There's no volume, though. And I see Mondawmin, and I see Pennsylvania Avenue on fire on the split screen, but I can't hear what's going on. But I wasn't driving, I got dropped off that day. So when I go outside to get in the car, I see all these different police from Anne Arundel County and Annapolis going up Hamburg Street. I'm like, what's going on? Didn't come find out we was already in the process of riding. So my best friend, he called me and said, come on, man, you gotta do something. So I'm like, do what? I'm not gonna stand in front of no police with no Facebook page. Like, what am I gonna do? And then my other friend, he was like, man, you gotta figure out something. So I went home, I said, well, let me just figure out a way that I can get people together collectively and help me figure out what to do, because I know we can't let our city go out like this. I mean, I know everybody's frustrated. I'm frustrated. I've been a victim of police brutality, but we can't burn down our own community, because at the end of the day, once we do that, we won't have nowhere to go. They definitely don't want us in their community, so we gotta, you know, save our own. So the next day, I put out a Facebook message and Instagram, and then my friend Meek Mills, he retweeted it and told everybody to meet me on Cloverdale. And that was the beginning of, you know, a moment that turned into a movement, because we got together then and said, well, let's find a way to collectively target the people that's responsible for this in a very legal, fashionable, respectful manner, let our voices be heard, and move on from there. So after that was successful, we decided to do the march on City Hall, which I said, well, a friend of mine like, man, you ain't get East Baltimore involved. I said, well, I tell y'all what, since y'all want to be involved, why don't y'all leave from Broadway and North Avenue, and we gonna leave from Pennsylvania and North Avenue. We meet at St. Paul, and together we can march down City Hall.
Awesome.
The picture was powerful.
Right, and we did that, and I mean, honestly, you know, I'm not gonna take all the credit, because without participation and respect and support, nothing is possible in the city, because, you know, we are not known to really do a lot of support, you know, but I'm just glad that moment really set the stage for the direction we wanted to go. I mean, you got other organizations that were doing a lot of positive things as well. It just, for some reason, we was in the target area, and I think it focused a lot on what we was doing or what I had going on. But I'm glad I was here too, because right now I sit back and I look and I think about where we came and how far we gotta go. And it's sad, because it seems like we still stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, you talking about 6 months later, and we still talking about police spitting on kids or hurting us or doing things that you think that pretty much, you know, will be resolved by now. But that's just the way of the world.
If you can say anything to the police commissioner right now.
Or maybe you might want to rephrase that.
No, it's funny because I got a meeting with him tomorrow at 1 o'clock. You know, he called me, I got a meeting with him tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And we met before, the new commissioner and the old, I met with both of them. And I always try to explain to him, for one, you can't fix a problem unless you know how it works, you know. And I don't mind being a liaison between what the community want and what y'all want to give us, but it got to be authentic, you know. You can't use me as a yardstick and then, you know, you camouflaging what it's not. Like, you got to change these policies, you got to change these procedures, you got to reform and train these police officers to know who they dealing with and how to deal effectively with our people. Because I have a problem with grown men sitting on the ground being questioned about their identity. When you go to Woodlawn or Howard County, Owens Mills, they don't put their dogs on the ground unless they're using the bathroom, right? But they put our grown men in the gutter and they question them like they're animals, you know, and, you know, you do human, you know, it's almost like you dehumanizing people, you know, and morally so, people, you know, that morale get destroyed, you know. It's hard for a man to, you know, respect one when all y'all look alike. You know, it's almost like police act in an individual capacity, but officially they represent the city. So when one do, everybody look at all of them, you know, and it's sad. I know some good police, I'm related to some police. It's some good police, but, you know, I think some of the good ones need to come out, you know, and tell the bad ones that enough is enough. You know, and tomorrow when I see the commissioner, I mean, he's been in office long enough to rectify a lot of situations, but, I mean, you got to ask myself, which direction did he want to go? Because I'm just there to listen tomorrow, because we've been talking for a long time, ain't nothing changed. So I want to know what he want to do to help Baltimore understand and trust and respect the police again, because I think we're a long ways from that.
Good luck with that conversation.
Yeah. You also met with the mayor, so I'm going to be nosy. And ask you, what was that meeting about?
You know, I have a lot of respect for the mayor. I think she did the best she could do with what she knew and had at that time. She's a wonderful person, you know. I mean, people might disagree with some of her policies, the way she governed. I mean, and who's to say what they would have done? I don't think you could have prepared for what happened, you know, with Freddie Gray. I don't think so. I mean, Baltimore has always been a very loving and compassionate city. I mean, who don't have violence? But when you have an outbreak such as that dealing with babies, I mean, what they want her to do, tell the National Guard to turn loose on our kids. So it was a difficult situation for her to be in. But we talked about, before she decided that she wasn't going to run again, we was talking about the direction of getting real people involved, you know, and that cared about the community, that was willing to, you know, make certain sacrifices, that was positive, that was influential, that could lead kids and a lot of other people in the right direction, you know. And we had a good dialogue. Unfortunately, she, you know, decided not to run, so we couldn't finish what we started. But we talked about that. We talked about some of the things that she could have did different, you know. And she was very open-minded, very objective about the decisions she made, and she wanted to try to correct them as best she could with what she had left, you know. And I think she got the message, but it seems like you're only as good as your last favor, you know. And I think what happened with her, you know, she gonna always be remembered by what happened during the Freddie Gray.
You think it was a little bit too late?
I mean, well, honestly, you know, this country was built on second chances. You know, I don't say that maybe her political career may not be what she expected to be after Freddie Gray. Maybe people who disagree with some of the policies that she voted for against while she was in office. But it's too late to fix what happened to Freddie, because had those police already been reprimanded years before then through her directives to the commission that we zero tolerance towards that kind of stuff, then maybe it wouldn't happen. So somebody got to take the blame, you know. And I'm not saying it's her. I'm saying, no, she got rid of one commissioner, we got a new one. Let's see what happened. But I think, you know, with her reputation being tainted based on the Freddie Gray situation, maybe it is, you know, too late to fix certain things. But I think she can go out.
I think her reputation was kind of tainted before the Freddie Gray situation. I think the whole situation just escalated people's feelings towards her.
Yeah, I have to agree. But if you do not run for mayor, out of the candidates that we do have running, who would you say is our best?
You know, I have so much respect for all the candidates that have committed to running for mayor. I won't say who I will back or support because we got some demands that need to be met before we can even decide about who's gonna run Baltimore. Because right now we're in crisis mode, and it's almost like, not to say it's synonymous to when Obama got in office after Bush, but think about Bush was leaving the war in Iraq, Afghanistan, then Obama came, had to clean that up and make certain promises, and I think he did good on that. But I mean, we in crisis mode, and we gotta stop voting for complexion and vote for content.
Absolutely.
And I know, I understand that most of us are Democrats, and we want, we were so excited when Obama got to be elected as, Democratic nominee because we wanted somebody black to represent us, But now we got real issues, and I'm saying for my kids' future, I want whoever the best person is that's qualified to make sure that my children be okay. And I don't feel safe in Baltimore. I never thought that ever I could say that. I mean, in terms of how the people that you trust to take care, you don't know if they're going to turn on, And it's sad. I remember we had an officer friendly. Now we got an officer aggressive. And I'm not going to take away from the black on black crime. A lot of these kids, they need to know how to problem solve, redirect their anger and frustration. And we got to find something for them to do. But I think whoever becomes mayor, if they're not equipped, and for one, if people don't trust them, respect them, and can relate to them, whoever the person will be, I think it's going to be unsuccessful. It got to be somebody that these people are willing to work with on all levels and respect. And I commend everybody for throwing their towel in the ring, but at the end of the day, it got to be more than just politics. Because I could care less about politics, honestly, because at the end of the day, I mean, we have been denied so many opportunities. Now we don't even want to vote. And that's a shame. So I think we need to energize ourselves, find those that can convince these young folk to be involved in the process, register to vote, and let your voices be heard. That way you can complain. Because you can't complain if you didn't vote for nobody.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we're going to go to a quick break. Make sure y'all grab a friend, tell them to tune in to Shugga Mama Radio on radioonfire.com. Phone lines are already open, 404-436-1277. Hit us up. You can also email us, shuggamamaradio@gmail.com. That's SHUGGAMAMA radio@gmail.com. We'll be right back. Keep it locked.